Hi, this is John Lundberg with VIAVI Solutions, and in this video we're going to use our Enterprise-SLM application software to perform OTDR testing on an MPO ribbon cable using our T-Bird 4000, an MPO switch, and an OTDR module. Enterprise-SLM is similar to cable SLM in labeling mode, which we showed you in our last video, but it's got a few differences, which makes it more tailor-made for the enterprise and data center market. So as before with cable SLM and labeling mode, the first thing you have to do is create a label file. And all this is a spreadsheet that you can make in Microsoft Excel, and it's got a list of names or labels that you're going to assign to each of the MPO cables that you're going to be testing. So this one happens to have 80 labels on it. And as before, save it as a CSV file, not as an Excel worksheet. Put that CSV file on a thumb drive and transfer it over to your T-Bird so we can retrieve it during setup. And that's where we're going to go right now. All right, so we're at our T-Bird 4000 homepage. Double-click on the switch to activate it, and double-click on the Enterprise-SLM icon to activate that function as well. And now we're going to go to Setup. And the first thing we want to do here is load a configuration file to set our OTDR parameters. So go down to the lower right and hit Load Config. And you have a number of choices here. Most of these are pre-baked configuration files that the factory loads on every T-Bird 4000. So the one we want to use for MPO testing is this one here, Enterprise Custom List Single Mode. So click on that and then load it. All right, and all those parameters are now loaded. So we're still in the setup menu here, so let's go through and modify a few of these. Maybe we don't want to use all these settings. So let's just do a single wavelength, 1550. Let's do our launch cable based on length. And no receive cable in this case. We're going to do meters. Back to the top menu, alarms. Here there's a number of standards you can use for your alarm thresholds. If you want to do your own, you can select user and just go and punch all these in. Connector, we'll just call it 0.5. All right, so we've tuned our acquisition and our alarm settings. Next, we're going to go to Site Info Labeling. So this is one of the unique features of Enterprise-SLM. It has you can enter in a bunch of information regarding the site that you're at, that you're doing the testing at. So here we'll just call this VIAVI. Type too fast. Site contact will be me. You can put the technician name in here. And you can fill in other information as well. Type of fiber you're testing, simplex, duplex. We're going to say MPO 8 out of 12 for SR4. And the fiber prefix, it'll just name the fiber within each cable that you're testing. It'll be fiber 1, fiber 2, and so on. All right, so we're going to go back to the top menu. So now we've, through a configuration file, we imported a bunch of settings, and we've modified those settings for the OTDR acquisition parameters, the alarm thresholds, the site labeling, and finally file. Don't bother changing the directory when we create the project that we're going to use. It's automatically going to create a folder into which all of our results are going to be placed. So you don't have to touch this, and you don't have to touch this either. The file naming is going to be based on the labels that you created. So we're going to create that, or we're going to import that label list next. And again, the file names are going to be pegged to the labels that we assign to each of the cables. All traces, you can say report. Yeah, if you want to have a PDF version of the report and not just the SOAR files, which are your traces, you can do that as well. So back to the top menu. So now we've tuned all the parameters to what we want. Just click over here somewhere and hit import label list. All right, so now we're going to import the label list and create the project. So I park that label list here in the project folder. I click on sample label list. And now I'm going to hit create project. It says current testing configuration will be used. All right, so we got all the settings where we want them. We're going to click yes. And now we just got to create a project name. Call this YouTube demo. And now our project has been teed up for us. So what we have here is a little scorecard. You can see these are all the label names that we imported, that we created in that CSV file. If you want to blow one up, because we chose 8 out of 12 for SR4 or LR4 for that matter, we're only going to test fibers 1 through 4 and then 9 through 12 because those are the active fibers. And at this point, you're ready to begin testing. Hit the Start Stop button. And it's going to go through and serially test these 8 fibers. So while it's doing that, it's about 20 to 30 seconds per fiber per acquisition. And again, just want to point out that I'm accessing my T-Bird using an application called Smart Access Anywhere. The T-Bird provides an alphanumeric code, and if it's connected to the internet, somebody on a PC anywhere in the world using their Smart Access Anywhere software on their laptop or PC can tunnel into that T-Bird and not just merely see the screen, but also push buttons. So that's what I'm doing here. I happen to have it on the desk right here next to me, so that's easy, but there's no reason I couldn't do this from halfway around the world. So it's great as a remote coaching tool, especially if a technician in the field is having a hard time interpreting results or has forgotten how to set a test or set up a test. He can reach out to a colleague, from a distance and get help that way. All right, so let's go back to our project. All right, still running. It's on fiber 3 now. And the test setup is the same as before. I just simply have 2 20-meter sections of MPO cable strung together. So very, very uninteresting from an optical event standpoint. You can see it just skipped from fiber 4 to fiber 9. Again, that's because we set it up to do 8 out of 12 fibers, to do the 8 outer fibers on the ribbon. And that's it. So it finished that cable. It did all 8 fibers in it, and now it's prompting us if we want to move on to the next cable. For now, let's say no. All right, let's go and blow this up and see what we just did. All 8 fibers passed. None of them exceeded their failure thresholds. If one of them did, they would be highlighted in red. And you can see that the 4 middle fibers were grayed out. They're not being tested. So just so you know, you can go back and retest any one fiber you want. But let's just pick one and look at the individual results. So let's look at fiber 4. You highlight it here, and then you click on View Fiber Test. And it gives you your OTDR trace with the summary table underneath showing the list of events. Again, if you wanted to look at it in SmartLink view, this is our icon-based view. So if you have guys who don't like to look at an OTDR trace, but rather something more graphical, it gives them this quick snapshot of what's going on. It tells them how long the cable is. We have a 20-meter launch cable followed by another 20-meter section with the ORL and the list of the events as well. So we can go back to trace view and go back to project view. One thing to point out, if I kept this label open like this, where you could see the fibers, and I hit start, it would have tested fiber 1 and then prompted me if I wanted to test fiber 2, and then so on. It would prompt me each time to move on to the next fiber. But because I closed it, and then I hit start, it just does them one after the other without prompting you, so you can walk away, get a cup of coffee or whatever. All right, so we've tested one cable. Let's stop it here. We'll close project. And so you want to start again tomorrow, but let's go to the file and see what we've done here. So a folder was created with our project name, Enterprise YouTube Demo. And here's a list of the files. So each one of these is a trace along with a PDF because we requested a PDF report. You got your MSOR file. And because we closed the project out, it also created a summary report down here. So these are all individual traces for each of the fibers. And this is a summary report, so we can load that. And view it right here. So because we just did one cable, there's only 8 fibers tested, and it's given in a summary right here. So that's about it. So again, you can go on and do the next 79 cables if you want. We're not going to do that here for this video. One thing I want to point out though is you might remember at the beginning we loaded a configuration file and then we went and modified some of those settings. If you want to use these settings again, what you can do is you can save this as your own special configuration file. So just click somewhere over here, and all these settings that we just created using our modifications on top of a pre-baked configuration file, you can save it as a configuration file and put your name on it. And now this will be saved in our config folder for future use. So this would guarantee that every time you're using the exact same settings and you're doing the test in the exact same way for good repeatability. So that's it. That was using Enterprise-SLM to perform OTDR testing on an MPO ribbon cable. Thank you for watching.